Hello guys, welcome back to Pause and welcome back to Hysteria Pier. This is part 11 of our ongoing Vintage Pack DLC centric series here in Planet Coaster, where we are building a promenade and a pier. Now this is set in our fictional world of Hysteria, which is in the same universe as our Hysteria Valley theme park, which is also available here on the channel. So if this is the kind of content you are into, theme park, simulation games, Planet Coaster, then consider subscribing to our channel and help us get to 2,000 subscribers, as we are almost there, and any extra help would be really appreciated. And if you do enjoy this video, don't forget to give us a like down below. So what are we doing today? So we're doing a fair bit of pier stuff, as you've already just seen. I've extended the pier out, so I've made it substantially bigger, as it was looking a little bit squashed up. So yeah, we've extended it up, we've made it a lot longer, and we've also moved the wild mouse to the end of the pier as it was before, but it's left a lovely bit of space in the middle. Now, obviously, I had a few issues moving this ride, as everything was in different buildings and connected to different things, which is my bad. When I built it, I just was being lazy, and everything was connected to different things. So we move all that over, we join it all up, and we put the wild mouse back in. I do a lot of work on the pathing today. We had a lot of new stuff, and we actually get quite a lot done. We had some new rides, some new food outlets, a new seating area, and then towards the end of the video I do a little bit more work on the ghost train, which we do name in this episode. So there's a hell of a lot of stuff to get into, so I'll try and talk through what I'm doing as I get there. But first of all, I just want to apologise for the lack of videos last week. As I mentioned in the last episode, it was my birthday last Tuesday, so I was away for the week. I actually went to a little seaside town, well, two little seaside towns in the UK. I stayed at a place called Southport, which is about an hour away from Blackpool. So during my week while I was away, I did visit the Southport beach and promenade, and also I went to a little trip to Blackpool for the Pleasure Beach for one of the days. So it did give me a little bit of inspiration, as both places obviously have piers, they both have promenades, and they are both pretty much this style of attraction. So Southport itself is a really long pier. It's very strange actually, as half of the pier kind of starts and goes over the land, so it kind of starts mid-town, goes over sort of like a man-made body of water, and then goes out over the road onto the beach itself. So it's a very strange setup, but it's unusual to see, and obviously it's good to see the different types of pier that you get. There's no attractions on that one, so it's not like this kind of pier that we're building here. It literally is just a long stretch pier, a couple of benches, and at the end there's a little bit of an arcade, and there is a ice cream sort of van. So yeah, it's very much a different style, but it's interesting to see the different kind of architecture and different varieties that we do get here in the UK. And then obviously I did go to Blackpool on, I think it was Thursday, just for a couple of hours. Went in the Pleasure Beach to try out Icon, which is the new Mack double launch coaster that opened this year, and it's quite good, to be fair. I mean, it's not as fast as I was expecting, but it's pretty decent. And obviously Blackpool is where I'm taking a lot of my inspiration from for this build, as it's the place I know the best in the UK, as I go there a lot, pretty much every year, and when I was a kid we used to go again pretty much every year. So a lot of my knowledge of piers and this style of build is taking inspiration from Blackpool. So it was good to get there, and it was a good little trip. So that's the reason why videos were a little bit lacking last week, as I could only do so much before I went, and obviously I was away from the office, unable to record all week. But now I'm back. For today I thought, let's crack on with the pier, let's do the extension like I mentioned last time, and let's just get a fair bit done. My aim going into today was to get the ghost train finished. I don't get it finished at all really, but I do add a new scene, and we do a little bit of work to the outside of it. So it's slowly getting there. I think I'm going to keep working away on it as I'm doing other stuff, because I don't think I'm going to be able to finish it all in sort of one session, because it's a lot to do. Dark rides are they're a lot of work. Even though I'm not trying to make this ghost train the most themed experience in the world, it is very much a tacky ride. It still takes time, because you've got to place all the theming inside, you've got to sort out the triggers, you've got to do the lighting, make sure everything flows. So yeah, they are quite tricky to do. So anyway, back to what we're doing here. We needed some food, we need some outlets, some shops and that sort of thing. So I've put in a little building here which is going to work as the ride photos. So it's not that common that UK piers would have ride photos, but I mean, this is a big coaster. It's not impossible to find that, so that's what we've added in there. I mean, in terms of the game, it's just 2 of the merchandise stands. I think there's a hats and maybe a balloon or just a memento, something like that. But yeah, in terms of the game, that's pretty much what it is. Now here, what I decided to do to give the pier a little bit more texture, a little bit more depth, is I thought let's add a little outcrop halfway along, which again isn't against what piers would do. I mean, it's not very common in the UK that you'll have a little outcrop, but they are sometimes. Well, let me explain where this inspiration come from. So, back to what I was talking about a minute ago. I went to Southport, went to their pier, and the little arcade building that's on the end of their pier, you can tell has been added on sort of relatively recently. It definitely was not an original feature of that pier, and it's kind of just stuck onto one side. You can see it's got a different support system underneath, and it's very much a modern building compared to the rest of the pier. Now obviously that's not what I'm doing here, but I'm taking that idea that this pier would originally have been the length it is, but at some point, just to fit an extra attraction on, they maybe extended it out just slightly to add a new ride. So that's what we've done here. We had a bounty pirate ship just to the side, and then eventually we had a little bit of a seating area to the right hand side of it as well. So again, yes, it's not very realistic in terms of UK piers, but it does happen. I mean, like I said, Southport have done that with a arcade, so it's not out of the realms of possibility. And it's fantasy. It's a theme park simulation game, so everything doesn't have to be realistic anyway. My realistic stuff will kind of stick in Hysteria Valley, the main theme park. This can be a bit more, I don't know, a bit more unique to what I'm trying to do here. So that's what we've done. So here I put in a little food outlet. We haven't really got many on the pier, and I need to get a few buildings in. So there's not really a theme on this pier, but obviously with it being a pirate ship, I'm just putting a very loosely themed pirate building in. And I say loosely as in it's got that pirate sign, it's called Pirate Feast, and there's that wheel. That's it in terms of the theming. So don't expect amazing stuff. And as I mentioned last time, if you do want to see some proper themed rides and proper themed builds, do check out the other stuff that I've got going on the channel. So the Studios Park, Clapboard Studios and Hysteria Valley are both sort of my main build series that I am putting a bit more effort and time into. Not that I'm not putting effort into this, but I mean, they are my sort of shining gems of work that I'm most proud of, if that makes sense. This is more of a showcase of the vintage pack and just to try something new. So yeah, so that's why I put in this little seating area just here, a little bit of fountain to cover up the path more than anything. I'm not so happy with the path in here, but it'll do for now. I'll come back to it at some point just to tidy it up. But for now, it works as a seating area, and it fills the space. So next on to, obviously, the main thing that you might have noticed in the middle of the park is the dodgems, which I did add earlier on, which I didn't even speak about. That was one of the main reasons why I wanted to expand the pier. As someone did mention, I can't remember who it was on the comments a few weeks ago, put dodgems on. And pretty much every pier I can think of that has rides has got dodgems, especially in the UK. So I couldn't really leave that out. So thank you to whoever it was who did sort of suggest that and spur me on to do this properly. So yeah, we put the dodgems straight in the middle, and I think it works quite well. I had a little space here for another ride, so I thought let's stick in another flat ride, another fairground type one. Again, it's not uncommon to find these types of rides on piers, as usually they are just sort of older flats that they maybe bought from a fairground that they've just bought for relatively cheap and found a place for it. So that's why we stick that at the back. I'm leaving the right hand side for now clear, as I'm still wanting to put in a relatively grand building at the back, which will probably house a restaurant and bar with an outdoor seating area. So I mentioned that a couple of times, and I'm still wanting to do that, so I'm leaving a little bit of space at the back for that, as you can see between the Wild Mouse and this little ride that I'm putting in here, I am leaving that space. So what I thought I'd do is, again, my aim for this build is to try and get as much of the vintage pack pieces in as possible. I'm trying to get them all in. Obviously, I don't know if I will, but that's my aim. And one of the great pieces that is in this vintage pack is the this hot air balloon, which is beautiful to look at, and it does act as sort of an animatronic. It's not a rideable ride, but it does act as an animatronic. So what I thought I'd do is just put in a sort of fake ride at this little area here. So yeah, it obviously isn't usable. Guests can't ride it, but I wanted to get the hot air balloon in this build somehow, and this was the best way I thought to do it. So I've built a very sort of tedious little platform for it. Imagine this will be on like a pulley system underneath the pier. It'll go up, I don't know, 30 feet or whatever, and yeah, come back down again. So it's got a very basic look to it, but like I said, I just wanted to get that in there, and it fills the gap. But I think it looks alright. Again, it adds a little bit of height to the pier as well, so in terms of the sight line on and off the pier, it does add a little bit of height and a little bit of variety to the landscape. So yeah, I think it looks quite good. I do a little bit of work with the fencing. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with the fence, as at the moment, like I said, I've got a lot of fences around blocking off the individual paths. I think that will go at some point towards the end. I think I'll have another go at the pathing and try and disguise it a bit better without having the fences inside. I want to try and keep it so the fences are to the outside of the pier. But I don't know, it's still a work in progress. Like I say, I'm just sort of seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. But this whole thing is a complete work in progress. So, and as always, if you've got any ideas and suggestions, do let me know, because I'm very new to this style build. So I'm open to any suggestions that you might have. Okay, now we get on to a little bit of work on the ghost train. I don't do too much today. We put in a new scene and do a little bit of work on the actual building itself. So this scene that I'm doing in here is just this very straight corridor. So I kind of style it as a corridor in a house. And this is going to be the spider scene. We do add some triggers, some lighting, and some triggered audio in this scene as well. So generally, like I mentioned before, most of this ride is going to be quite a tacky build, and I want it to feel that way when we do the POV at the end. So you'll see what I mean. I want it very much to be like you're going down a dark corridor, a light will flash on, there'll be a really dodgy sound, and that's kind of like the jump scare. And again, I want to try and make that quite realistic and come across quite well, as you do get that in these style rides, and these kind of places would have this style of ghost train. So that's what I'm going for. I mean, it's a little bit more themed than it would be in real life, but that's just because they're the pieces I have to work with. Like these spiders, I probably will turn them all off, except I had some dangle down from the ceiling, which you might have seen. Yeah, so some of them, the ones on the wall, I'll probably turn off and just keep the ones that fall down as animatronics, as they're the ones that I light up and trigger as you come down. Again, I want to try and make it. There's some movement in these kind of things. You do get it. I mean, the one at Blackpool, which I did go on the other day, is actually a really good ghost train. I know that's not a pier park, but it's still, well, it's one of the oldest in the world. I mean, I'm fairly certain that's where the name Ghost Train came from, is based on that ride. And that one's got quite a lot of moving pieces in it. Whether you'd class them as animatronics, I don't know, but there are mannequins with moving parts. Let's put it that way. Really stiff, old-fashioned animatronics, but it works. I mean, you still see people coming out of it quite scared. So obviously, it resonates with people. So yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm trying to do here. But obviously, you're limited with the pieces we've got. The noises I've used at the moment are just some in-game random spooky screams and shouts and strings and stuff. Like I mentioned before, I really want to get that like siren noise in. I wish I'd thought on now and I could have recorded it while I was in Blackpool. I just didn't think. But I really want that kind of like really loud siren. It's just so classic for these kind of ghost trains. They normally end with it. The finale is normally like that noise, and then you come out into the station. So yeah, we'll try and recreate that as we go along this ride. In terms of what else we do today, I put in a lot of these pictures You may have noticed these random old pictures that I use in most of my horror builds that I do. These originally, I just did a Google search for like creepy paintings and creepy photos, and they've just been sat in my Planet Coaster folder since I've got this game, really. So every time I do a little horror build, them little photos come out and I use them. It gives a good impression. I mean, you only whiz past them. They're not like a main part of this scene. They're just there in the background, so it gives a nice little, depth to the corridor, I suppose. So here, like I say, I'm just putting in another little jump scare at the end. Trying to use these little ghost pieces as they're kind of the only things that I can use as jump scares, really. And then they're the nearest thing to like little skeleton faces, which you get in these rides where they just sort of pop up out of a gravestone or from behind a wall or something. So yeah, I'm going to try and use those as much as I can. Again, I'm solving issues with this because the way this hoax ride vehicles, the way they launch with the 3 trains connected, it means that the triggers all kind of mess up. Like the car in the middle tends to miss most of the scenes, and also when I put a door in here in a minute and trigger that, because of the way the spacing is on the trains, the middle car goes through the door. It doesn't trigger it. So I'm having a real hard time figuring out why it launches these things in 3s. I really just can't figure out why they built it that way, or if there is a way to change it. I just can't find it. So yeah, I'm really struggling to figure it out because none of the stuff is set up to trigger with 3 cars running in a way. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I got a bit fed up of that, so I kind of gave up and thought, right, let's come back outside and get the lights back on, and just put in a very tediously linked food building here. I put these in earlier on because it was asking for drink. People were dying for drink. Toilets as well as the other one I need to put in, but I think they'll go in the building at the end of the pier. I'm not going to build a standalone toilets. It's not very realistic for this style ride, this style pier, sorry. So yeah, just a very, very quick food outlet. Spooky snacks or spooky treats or whatever I call it. Yeah, that's the one. Again, just linking it very loosely to the building next to it. Like I say, we're not doing themed areas. I'm just building rides and then very, very tediously linking in the food outlet like we did with the pirate ship. So don't expect massive theming. But yeah, so I thought I'd top up the outside of the ghost train very slightly. Again, I'm not overly happy with the outside. We're going to do a lot more work on this. But eventually I think I will cover up the actual station. It's going to remain kind of open. And again, I'm taking inspiration from the Blackpool Pleasure Beach ghost train for that. So anyone who's seen that, the station and the drop are open, as in you can see it all from outside the ride, but it does have a roof over it. And I think eventually that is what I'm going to try and do. So I think I'll pull that main roof that I've just put in forwards, put a flat roof in, and just try and make it fit a bit better. But again, that's something we'll do next time we come back to this ride. But for now, I think it works quite well. Moving everything around a little bit just to get the sign in the end, which I think we call it Spooky Manor, I believe. I didn't want to just call it the Ghost Train. As to be fair, most piers that have a ghost train or this style ride is probably what it is called. But I thought, no, let's give it a slightly different theme. Spooky Manor will do. Very generic, but you know, that's the kind of thing I'm going for. Add a second sign on the edge, give it a bit of a wonk, and then sink them into the building. And that pretty much finished off what we've done today. So that is it, like I say, pretty much what we've done in this episode, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, don't forget to give us a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're back in a couple of days with a bit more work here on the pier. But for now, guys, thank you ever so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.